Conversations about the intersection of video games and politics mesh just about as well as oil and water. I constantly hear about the outcry for less politics in games and how we need less woke in modern releases. In a very rudimentary way, I can understand that perspective. When I'm playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater online with some friends, or enjoying the latest single-player addition to my library, I'm really just looking for some chill time. I don't really want to have to think about real-world issues. But lately, it's been harder and harder to tune out the noise being generated in the real world as I try to escape for a few moments into some of these virtual ones. And now more than ever, I think it's important to understand that politics absolutely affect what games we play. In the past few weeks, major PC marketplaces Steam and itch.io have culled large amounts of NSFW-labeled content from their storefronts. Among these titles were some very obvious targets, games featuring topics clearly rife for removal, but also among these targeted for removal were games that explore sexuality, eating disorders, and queer identity. These award-winning narrative titles from independent developers have little recourse to be reinstated on these platforms. And you can hate all of those topics and want nothing to do with the games that discuss or highlight them. That's the lovely thing about a supposedly free marketplace. Your inherent freedom to choose what you spend your time and money on. But freedom doesn't come without a fight. It festers in the fog of complacency. We are sliding down that slippery slope where what we play can be directly affected by the wishes of individuals and corporations who should have no say in how we make legal purchases and decisions with our media. We're now fighting a battle on multiple fronts, with publishers free to delist games at will and remove ownership from paying consumers without any compensation or recourse for their actions. And now digital marketplaces are taking away the ability to purchase content, as their revenue is being affected by payment processors, forcing their hand as they fall victim to the lobbying efforts of groups with dubious intentions. A contrarian take would dismiss this as a PC-only issue, but this isn't just limited to PC, it's also on consoles. Nintendo of America specifically has been influenced in terms of censorship. At the tail end of 2024, with little warning or full explanation of their updated policies, Nintendo began censoring game releases. Multi-platform titles would either have significant content removed, heavily altered, or in several cases, the games wouldn't release at all. Examples can be seen in titles like The 100 Line having significantly altered art on the Nintendo Switch release, and Neptunia Riders vs. Dogoos not having character outfits and packs to purchase while being available on other console platforms. This is all the while entire titles skip the US market, not for lack of interest, but for lack of approval on behalf of what is deemed appropriate for the market here. But politics doesn't limit its reach to the media that we buy, it's also now affecting our ability to play the games on the hardware in the first place. Nintendo is raising the prices of 8-plus-year-old Switch hardware and accessories in response to, quote, market conditions. Those market conditions referenced are the trade war and uncertainty regarding the current administration in the US and constant flip-flopping on tariff rates. Nintendo manufactures their hardware in Asia. The main regions of manufacture are currently being subject to close to a 25 to 30% tariff. By the time this video is published, that rate could change multiple times. We used to have multiple price drops within a generation. I specifically remember the Kevin Butler $2.99 PS3 ads and going to GameStop on Black Friday years ago with some friends to pick up a $200 PS4 console bundle. But the world has changed, and so have the policies surrounding free trade, monetary policy, inflation, cost of living standards, and just general affordability. And I'm not here to deflect blame off of billion-dollar corporations. They should be more than able to take some hits on the chin when it comes to current tariff policies. Nintendo has already charged $80 for a standard release video game, and Microsoft attempted to before realizing their content couldn't command an audience at that price. But at a certain point, when your profit margins are being carved away at to the tune of 25 to 30% on an already low margin hardware, you're going to have to pass that on to consumers, at least in part. I truly think it's just a matter of time before the remaining dominoes fall. We've already seen Xbox Series and original Switch hardware prices increase. PlayStation 5 and Switch 2 consoles are soon to follow, with the currently imposed quote-unquote market conditions. Politics are also affecting what games are getting made, not just in executive boardrooms where marketers are attempting to find the largest common denominator audience to market the next extraction shooter or cozy farming sim to, but down to the granular decisions affecting the livelihoods of developers, artists, QA testers, and studio staff. Microsoft has closed several game studios within the past year and performed thousands of layoffs, citing financial and market conditions, changing player interest, AI, and every other corporate talking point that you can think of. But the reason that these have been able to happen so quickly and so often can also be traced back to politics here in the United States. There's little in the way of job security, workers' rights, unionization, and collective bargaining here, especially when compared to our contemporaries. Employees in the US can be legally laid off with no notice, no severance, and no recourse for the company executing the layoff. Compare this with other countries, where legal documentation must be thoroughly upheld, sufficient reasoning must be given for the reduction in headcount, and nearly all other options must be exhausted before reductions take place. US workers are also subject to less guarantees while they are employed, including no guaranteed paid parental leave, no law guaranteeing paid vacation, no universal health care, and no federal requirements for severance pay. None of this is to speak of the lack of pay transparency and the unmoved federal minimum wage in the US for over a decade. Even if you are someone who only cares for yourself and believes in an extremely individualistic mentality, our politics and poor labor policies are leading to less games being made, and the ones that do release are not reaching their full potential. An overworked, underpaid, and unprotected workforce will not have the creativity and freedom to craft the experiences we want in the future. The games industry is bleeding veteran and junior talent, and no one is stepping in to plug the wound. None of this is to say that you're obligated to go sign a petition, call your senator, or vote one way or another. So many of these issues remain out of control of the average citizen and consumer. But when currency and compliance is the expectation, causing a little trouble is warranted. Bringing attention to the problems being directly or indirectly caused by the people who you would rather stay out of your business in the first place is a necessary battle to ensure you can have those moments of peace. I wish we could play what we wanted, when we wanted, on our platform of choice at an affordable price, and not worry about that right being taken away from us. But we live in an age where what we assume to be the norm is no longer something we can take for granted. Corporations, politicians, and lobbyists are looking out for their bottom line above all else. Even if you want politics out of your games, we're now being forced to face the ramifications of their decisions. Protecting your peace is important, and I sympathize with the desire to bury your head in the sand through the media bans, the stop sales, the content alterations, and blacklisting if you feel like it's not directly affecting you now. But that slippery slope is nearly impossible to climb back up once you've fallen down it. A bit of a weightier topic today, but that's really just my 2 cents on the subject at the moment. Please do not refrain from letting me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you want more of these style of videos, please let me know. Please give the video a like and the channel subscribe if you enjoyed it. Be kind to each other, and I will see you on the next one.